It's time for another poetry lesson, and we are going to be tackling the topic of figurative language. You've probably heard of a lot of these, but maybe didn't know what they were called. So stay tuned and see what you learn. For this activity, you're going to need some scissors, a glue stick, and some highlighters, markers, or colored pencils. This is the handout that I'm going to be using in this video. If you don't have it, check the description box below and you can go grab yourself a copy. If you do have it, go ahead and get these two pieces cut out. You're going to cut out around these dotted lines. Do not cut them apart. And then you're going to cut around this whole entire box. Do not cut these slits though yet. If you don't have the foldable, you can go ahead and keep watching the video and see what you learn. This lesson is all about figurative language, and we're going to figure out what figurative language is. It's really just language that isn't really saying exactly what it means. So we're going to look at some examples of figurative language where the words mean something other than what they're actually saying. Okay, this foldable is a little bit different. We actually are going to be gluing this piece down, and this is going to open up. So we're going to fold so that we can see the black line. Can I get right on that black line? And then fold it forward. And then when you glue it, you've got to glue it over far enough so that this still has notebook paper underneath it. So make sure you do that. And then we're just going to glue the back of this. The whole thing is going to be glued down. You want to make sure that this flaps up and it's not accidentally glued down and that it's on the paper. We're going to be gluing this right underneath it because these are our definitions for these terms. So we're just going to put glue on the back of this. Now we're ready to get started talking about figurative language. Midnight snack. I was a hungry lion when I woke up late one night. My tummy started growling, and so I flipped on the light. The stairs all groaned beneath me as I crept quiet as a mouse. My belly was rumbling thunder as I wandered through my house. I saw my brother's cupcake, and it called to me by name. I knew I shouldn't take a bite, but I tasted it all the same.
Yummy.
Sly as a fox, I turned around. My brother asked me what I'd done. I felt a frog stuck in my throat, and the cat had gotten my tongue. Then I thought he'd blow his top as I wiped frosting off my cheek. But he smiled sweet as pie and said, "You'll be doing my chores all week." Okay, that's kind of a funny poem. Clearly, I was really desiring this cupcake that my brother had, and instead of flipping out on me and getting mad at me and going and telling my mom, he just kind of put me in a hard spot and said I was going to be doing his chores, and that was kind of what I would have to do to make up for eating his cupcake. So kind of a cute little funny poem, but it's going to help us learn all about figurative language. So let's take a look at the first thing. This one is a simile. And when you looked at that word at first, you probably thought it said smile, because it almost does if we took out this I, but it is simile. And then we're going to look at the definition here. The definition for a simile is that it uses the word like or as to compare two unlike things. So we're comparing two things, but they're things that aren't really like each other. So that's what a simile is, but you're always going to know it's a simile because it uses the word like or as, and we're going to find some in the poem right now. Right here it says, "As I crept quiet as a mouse." Now this as has nothing to do with the simile, but this one does. I'm comparing the way I'm creeping to how a mouse creeps. And I've got the word as right there. So I'm as quiet as a mouse. Technically, I'm probably never going to be that quiet because I'm a lot bigger than a mouse, and a mouse can move and not make any noise, and I probably can't actually, but we're comparing how I'm moving with the movements of a very, very tiny creature. So technically, I'm not like a mouse in any way, but we're comparing how quiet I was being with the sounds a mouse would make, which would be very, very quiet. Here's another one, sly as a fox. There's the word as. And I am being sly or sneaky just as a fox would be sneaky. Now, I don't have a lot of characteristics that would remind you of a fox, but this is a pretty common saying. We always think of fox as being a very sneaky animal because they'll like sneak into the hen house and steal eggs, or maybe even a chicken. So they're very, very sneaky animals, and they can move around and sneak in and find their food or their treats without you even knowing they were there. So even though I am not going to be able to move in a sneaky, quiet, sly way, I'm comparing myself to a fox. So once again, something that I'm not very much like. So that kind of goes back to comparing two things that are not actually alike. Okay, let's look for another one. He smiled sweet as pie. Okay, now here I'm comparing his smile and the sweetness of his smile to the sweetness of a piece of pie. Now, the sweetness of a piece of pie I can taste, and his smile, I can just say, oh, he's so sweet. So sweet kind of has two different meanings there. So I'm really comparing something that isn't the same at all. You can't compare something like, oh, she's a sweet girl, to the sweetness of a piece of candy, because those are two different kinds of sweet. But that's what I'm doing. His smile was so sweet. It wasn't what I was expecting. I was expecting him to get mad and yell at me, but it was so sweet. It was as sweet as pie. So all of these similes use the word as to compare, but we'll be looking at some that use like. You could say, she sings like Adele. You're comparing their voice to someone who is a famous musician. So it's the same thing. You're comparing two things that are different, but you're using the word like instead of as. All right, we're going to look at the next figurative language here. This is a metaphor. You'll notice the PH is making the F sound, so metaphor, kind of an odd word. And it's very similar to a simile. So in a metaphor, you're actually just saying that two different things are the same thing. So instead of saying it's like something else or it's as something else, you're not. You're just saying it is when it really isn't. So you're saying that two different things are the same thing. And we're going to look at some examples of metaphors here. I was a hungry lion. I didn't say I was as hungry as a lion. That would be a simile because it would use the word as, and it would be comparing my hunger to a lion. But this isn't. This is going a step further. I'm actually saying I am a hungry lion. And we can actually get a picture in our head of like a lion that's hungry and he's out on the prowl. And that's what I'm saying I was doing in this poem. I am hunting for something to eat. And let's see. My belly was rumbling thunder. Is my belly actually capable of making thunder? No. But it does make noises when I get hungry. But I'm not just saying it was rumbling or my belly was making noises. I am saying that it actually was thunder. Of course it wasn't. Now, if I said my belly was as loud as thunder, that would be a simile. Because I would be comparing it with as, but I'm not. I'm saying it is thunder. So that's the difference in a metaphor. You say that one thing is something else, and my belly is not actually thunder. It's not possible. All right, we are ready to take a look at this next one. It's kind of an odd word. If you cover this up, you see the word person, and then this says ification. But when you put it together, you say personification. But that word person in there is really important, and you'll see why when we look at the definition. So we're going to do this in pink, and then let's flip it over and take a look at the definition. It gives human qualities to non-human things. So the reason it's called personification is because you're making something that isn't a human sound like a person and sound like it can do things that a person can do. So we're going to do human qualities to non-human things. All right, let's take a look at some examples of personification. My tummy started growling. All right, we know what that means because we hear it all the time. It is a figure of speech. That's why we call it figurative language. But my tummy can't actually growl. It really is something that a person could do. A person could growl. Your tummy definitely could not. So that is an example of personification. The stairs all groaned beneath me. Well, stairs can't groan. We know that they do make creaking sounds, and that's what we're talking about here. But it sounds more interesting to say that they're groaning or moaning, but that's something that a person could do. A stair can't actually do that. Then here we've got, I saw my brother's cupcake and it, talking about the cupcake, called to me by name. Did the cupcake call out my name? No, it did not. But it looked so delicious that I felt like it was calling me by name. It was pulling me in with its yummy looking frosting and sprinkles. So that's all it means here is, yes, it can't actually call out my name like a person could, but it is so yummy looking that I felt like it was calling to me. So that's an example of personification. All right, we're on the very last one, and this one is an idiom. An idiom, it's kind of a funny word, but we're going to see what it means right here. Phrases that do not mean exactly what they say. So words or groups of words that do not mean what they say. You've probably heard a lot of idioms and you just didn't know that's what it was, but you knew what it meant probably just because of how it was used. So let's look for a few examples here. I felt a frog stuck in my throat. Did I really have a frog in my throat? Because that would be gross and weird and I'd probably choke. No, but what it actually means is that there was a lump in my throat. It was because I knew I had been caught and I had done something wrong and I just couldn't talk. I couldn't get any words out for a second, but there was not an actual frog stuck in my throat. So if you watch the video on literal and non-literal, this is completely non-literal. This is not what I mean. I do not mean there's an actual frog in my throat. I just mean I couldn't talk. The cat had gotten my tongue. Was there a cat holding on to my tongue? Try and picture that. That would be really weird. No, that's just an idiom. It's a very old saying that just means that you can't speak. You can't get your voice. You're trying to say something and you can't. So the cat had gotten my tongue just means that you're tongue-tied. And in this case, I was tongue-tied because I had done something really wrong. I had eaten my brother's cupcake. In a different situation, you could be tongue-tied because maybe you're shy, maybe you got surprised by something and you just can't find your words for a second. But there's not a literal cat grabbing onto your tongue. And the last example of idiom here is he'd blow his top. So is my brother's head going to explode like a volcano? No, that is not going to happen, thankfully. But all it means is that he's going to freak out and get really upset at me. So blow his top is an idiom. It's a phrase that does not mean what it says. It actually has something completely different. His head is not going to explode, but he is going to get really angry and upset. So blowing your top or losing your cool is another one. If you lose your cool, you flip out, you get mad about something. So there's tons and tons of idioms that you've probably heard. One that I always use as an example is, I'm so hungry I could eat a horse. Well, literally, I would not want to eat a horse, nor could I actually physically eat something as big as a horse. I couldn't eat anything that size, but it just means I'm really hungry. You might have heard one, paid an arm and a leg for something. It just means it was really expensive. You're not literally giving them an arm and a leg. So that's what an idiom is. All right, guys, you did a fabulous job learning all about figurative language. Now you know how to find it when you're reading a poem. Just remember, with figurative language, you have to read between the lines. It's really meaning something other than what the words actually say. Be sure to watch my other videos on poetry and subscribe so that you can stay updated when I post new videos. Thanks so much for watching.